One of the things that I notice happens a lot when I'm in sessions or in workshops with clients is that someone will have an expansive experience or expanded experience of themselves where they're experiencing their body and their energy and their system in a new authentic way, creating new stories for themselves. It feels exciting, it feels inspiring, and it feels like the full flow or a fuller flow of their authentic energy. Oftentimes what happens when someone is in an experience like this is that their minds will immediately project forward to the future, and they'll come up with the question of, well, how do I hold on to this? Okay, or maybe it's something like, how do I make sure that I stay this way? Or another thing that will happen is they'll have the expansive experience, and then as they're coming out of the expansive experience, they notice some of their old thought forms come up, some of their old thought patterns come up, the thought patterns that don't serve them, and they immediately get flustered, and they say something like, oh my God, I just had this thought, and as if to say, because they had this thought, because this thought crept back into their minds, it means that the work that they just did is null and void, and it sets up this paradigm or this belief system that basically once you have this peak experience where you expand, it's now your job to stay in that frequency 24/7, make it last, make it last, make it last, cling to it, cling to it, cling to it, because God forbid if you don't, it's going to be gone, and then you're going to be back where you started, and then of course the next step is to blame yourself and be mad at yourself and basically pummel yourself for not holding on more tightly. So let me just avail all of you of this experience, if this is you, if you are relating to this, if you are connecting to it. It is not our job to cling tightly or to hold on to peak experiences and make sure that they last 24/7. That's not how this works. And by the way, this can relate to any kind of peak experience. This can relate, if you go sit in a medicine circle, an ayahuasca circle, you go to a sound bath, ecstatic dancing, whatever, a workshop, whatever. Any kind of expansive peak experience, right? It opens us up. It gets our energy running. It gives us access to new information and new experiences of ourselves. And then we come out of the peak experience. It's then our job to simply let it integrate. There is no demand or expectation that you come out of the peak experience radically transformed and different, and that's how the way you stay forever. No, you're getting the peak experience because it's giving you a glimpse of something. It's giving you a glimpse of something. It's like a little bit of a shock to your system. It's like the universe is saying, okay, here's an opening. This is a glimpse of what else is there. Okay, now we're going to bring you back to, business as usual. And now what you get to do is you get to take that medicine and you get to integrate it into your everyday life. So right then and there, let's just remove the pressure or the demand that somehow you're supposed to live up to this peak experience 24/7 forevermore. And it's really important to remove that demand because honestly, that very demand or that very question of, oh my God, how do I hold on to this? Or how do I make sure I keep this in my everyday life? You're already crushing the energy in that moment. If you're in the middle of a peak experience and you're in the middle of creating something for yourself that's new and that's different, the energy of creation is what you are creating now is what you're going to keep creating. So if you're in an expansive experience, the way to keep that expansive experience going is to let the expansion continue to happen. But if you're in an expansive experience and your mind suddenly comes in with a mental question of, oh my God, how do I hold on to this? How do I make sure I keep this going? Well, you've just cut off the expansive experience. So that very question has now diminished the amount of medicine you can take in. So just notice that there is an energy, there is a vibration to that very question that cuts you off from the experience that you're wanting. So just get rid of the question, okay? And the way you get rid of the question is by understanding that there is no demand that you have to stay in this peak experience forevermore. So just know that, number one. Number two, what I want to say to you guys is integration. How do we integrate? Integration happens from our bodies. Okay? It happens from our instinct. It is not something that happens in the mind. So again, I feel like a lot of times what happens is, coming out of peak experiences, people start anticipating like getting back into their lives and getting back into their old relationships and getting back into their old jobs and planning like, oh my God, how am I going to handle this situation? I need to draw this boundary. I need to assert this need. I need to do that thing. I need to make this new choice. I need to make that new choice. It's all coming from in here. It's all coming from in here. It's all demand. It's all expectation. It's all specific image of what it's supposed to look like. That's not where inspiration comes, you guys. Change is inspired. So where does it come from? It comes from spontaneous new choices. It comes from that moment where you're in relationship with someone and there's an old dynamic playing out and something in your body just makes a new choice in the fucking moment. You don't even know where it comes from. It kind of takes you by surprise. You hit a wall inside yourself where you're like, you know what? This old way doesn't feel good anymore. And I just have this intuitive knowing of what I want to say right now. That's where it comes from. It's not something you plan from the head. It comes from within here. And if it's not coming from within here yet, then it just means your system's not ready yet. Okay? Now I'm going to throw in a third piece to this, okay? Because I know our minds get so restless. We're human beings. That's what happens. So what you really want to do is you want to give that restless mind of yours a place to go. You want to create a container for all those restless thoughts that are going to come up. So what I will say is, no, do not create a demand on yourself to keep this peak experience going forever. But what I would recommend to you is to start coming up with, if you don't already have this, with some sort of consistent, preferably daily, but maybe every other day, even weekly, something that you'll maintain, a consistent spiritual practice or discipline that you can come back to. You know, so for a lot of people, this is meditation. Maybe it's a meditative walk. Maybe it's time out in nature. But the thing is, what you want to do is you want to create a consistent discipline that's going to be a touchstone for you and your energy and your intention. And what you want to do in that consistent touchstone is you want to return to the information of that peak experience. Like really let your system feel it again. Let yourself return to the intention and to how it felt and the things that you knew for yourself, and cultivate that feeling. Consciously cultivate that feeling. Create space where you are consciously cultivating that feeling. Because again, feeling that feeling is what's going to create more of that feeling in your life. It's not going to come up from here. So remove the demand that you have to like be responsible for all these new thought forms all the time and being in new energy all the time. Create space for yourself. In that space for yourself, let your body take inspired action without too much planning. And the way you're going to support all this is through a consistent spiritual discipline or practice where you get to put all that restless energy into revisiting that feeling that felt so good in the first place. Okay, guys, hope this helped. Hit me up with any questions or comments in the comments. See you later.